Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Neil Howard. Thank you so much for joining us for another segment of Health Professional Radio. In this segment, we're going to have a conversation with Dr. Wendy Pang. She's joining us here from Jasper Therapeutics to talk about HSC therapies that are very important and very potentially curative therapies for people living with life-threatening leukemias, lymphomas, other hematologic cancers, and inherited genetic diseases as well. Welcome to Health Professional Radio, Dr. Wendy Pang.
Thank you so much, Neil, for inviting me.
Glad that you could join us this evening. Thank you so much. I mentioned that you were joining us here from Jasper Therapeutics. Give us a brief overview of your professional background and your current role at Jasper.
Sure. So at Jasper, I'm the SVP of Research and Translational Medicine. So what that means is I head up our research efforts to discover new drugs, as well as the development of our newest clinical trials and bringing them our findings to patients. My background is that before joining Jasper, I was a doctor for the blood and marrow transplant division at Stanford. So I was seeing patients in that area, as well as doing a lot of research with my colleagues at Stanford, trying to understand blood stem cells and how we can target blood stem cells in the setting of blood and marrow transplant.
What is the main mission there at Jasper Therapeutics?
At Jasper, we are trying to bring to patients new therapies that can improve the safety and efficacy of potentially curative treatments like blood stem cell transplants. So blood stem cell transplants, they can be very powerful because they allow us to replace abnormal or diseased blood stem cells in a patient with healthy ones, sometimes from somebody else, or gene therapy corrected stem cells from that patient. So what that means is that blood stem cell therapies can be used to treat essentially any condition in which the blood stem cell is giving rise to abnormal, say, cancerous or defective blood or immune system cells. So we think that the blood stem cell therapies can be applied to patients not just with cancers like leukemia, but also patients who have potentially inherited a condition affecting their blood or immune system, like sickle cell disease or Fanconi anemia, or a wide range of other blood disorders.
What is JSP 191? Is that something that you're working on now, or is it something that has been approved?
The JSP 191 has not been approved, but it is a molecule, it's an antibody that we are actively investigating and testing in clinical trials. This is an antibody that can basically target the blood stem cells found in patients. And we can use this antibody to clear away those abnormal or diseased blood stem cells. And this is important because when we give blood stem cell transplants, we need to basically make space for the incoming healthy donor blood stem cells. And in order to make space, we have to clear away the recipient's abnormal or diseased blood stem cells. And that's where JSP 191 comes in. JSP 191 blocks a key signaling pathway on these blood stem cells. So when these blood stem cells are exposed to JSP 191, they are depleted from their homes or their niches in the bone marrow. And this allows the incoming blood stem cells from a donor or from gene therapy to come in and replace an abnormal or diseased blood and immune system with a healthy one.
Are there different preparations depending on the type of condition that you're trying to treat?
Yeah, that's a great question. So depending on the disease, the antibody JSP 191 may be able to be used alone or in combination with other agents to make space for the incoming blood stem cells. Right now in blood and marrow transplant, very high doses of chemotherapies or radiation are often needed to make that space. And our goal at Jasper with JSP 191 is to replace or reduce the toxic chemotherapies that are needed. to make space for the blood stem cell transplants to be successful.
Are there any conditions that are particularly good for this compound?
So we think that making space is an important component of blood stem cell transplants overall. And that includes things like myelodysplastic syndrome and acute leukemia, which are cancers of the blood. So we have an ongoing clinical trial evaluating the antibody in that. But we also have clinical trials right now going on in an immune system disorder called severe combined immune deficiency, as well as in Fanconi anemia and sickle cell disease. And so the concept of using this antibody in blood stem cell transplants, I think the power of it is that it can apply very broadly to a number of conditions. And what we've seen now across these various conditions is that indeed the antibody is doing what we expect it to be doing, which is making space by depleting or clearing out the recipient's abnormal or diseased stem cells and opening up that space for the incoming healthy donor ones.
When do you anticipate JSP 191 to be available for doctors and their patients?
Right now, JSP 191 is in the clinical development phase and in the process of assessing with the regulatory authorities the best path forward. I would anticipate that JSP 191 could be potentially available in a couple of years.
Is there anything that you'd like to add for our listeners? And then give us a website where we can learn more.
Yeah, I think that, I'm very optimistic that we can really transform how physicians and patients think of and approach blood stem cell transplant in the future, because I think we really have an opportunity here to improve or maintain the efficacy of blood stem cell transplants while significantly reducing the toxicity that's been traditionally associated with blood stem cell transplant procedures. So I'm hoping and looking forward to bringing all of the exciting science that we've been working on to patients in the next few years. And for more information, please visit our website, www.jaspertherapeutics.com.
Dr. Pang, I appreciate you joining us here on Health Professional Radio this evening.
Thank you very much, Neil.
You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard, in conversation with Dr. Wendy Pang. Audio copies of this program are available at hpr.fm and healthprofessionalradio.com.au. You can also hear the podcast and download at Anchor, Spotify, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Health Professional Radio.